What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. But to kick it off, like always, we got to crack a beer. Marble Double White. You can't see it. Local brewery here in Albuquerque, where I'm at. Pretty good beer. Check it out if you're in the area. Marble Double White. So what's going on today? I'm going to go over my AFC North predictions. We did the AFC East predictions the other day. So today I'm going to dive in to the AFC North predictions. Up first, we got to go with, well, they weren't the divisional winner last year, but they're normally the divisional winner, the Pittsburgh Steelers. So a lot of people sleeping on Pittsburgh this year because Le'Veon and Antonio Brown are obviously departed. AB is now in Oakland and Le'Veon Bell in New York. But they still have a pretty talented team. Their receiving core is pretty good. They still have Juju Smith-Schuster. We all know Juju's a beast. They also have Dante Moncrief now, as well as Ryan Switzberg. That's his nickname now, Switzberg. So, yeah, they should be pretty good. They have the third-ranked Pro Football Focus ranked their offensive line as a third-ranked offense in the NFL. So they obviously have a veteran offense. They're coming back. They should be good this year. James Conner's coming back. So I'm sure you've all seen James Conner, and he puts up good numbers. He was a good fantasy player last year, too, even though he was supposed to be a backup coming in the year behind Le'Veon. They drafted Benny Snell from Kentucky. I really like Benny Snell. He's a badass from Kentucky. So that's exciting. So I still think they're going to be a top offense in the league. They still have Big Ben. They still have all these badass receivers. They have a good running game. They have a great offensive line. Not really. They're even Vance McDonald at tight ends, a pretty good tight end. So they don't really have any weaknesses on offense that I see. And then defense, their defense has led the league in sacks over the last 2 years. I think two of their defensive linemen have combined 25 sacks last year. TJ Watt and Cameron Hayward. So those guys are obviously sick defensive linemen. They also added Devin Bush from Michigan. Yeah, boo Michigan, right? But Devin Bush is actually a really good player. They added him from Michigan as a linebacker. I think he's going to be a star. He was a beast at Michigan. I've really liked him since day one, even though, I know he's a Michigan guy, but still got to give Devin Bush credit for coming out of Michigan. My prediction for Pittsburgh is 11-5. They don't have a very tough schedule. They have New England on the road, and then they go to Cleveland and to Baltimore as well. I think they'll split the divisional games with Cleveland and Baltimore. I think they'll sweep Cincinnati. I think they'll lose to New England week 1. They do play New England week 1 in New England, so I don't think they're going to pull that out. But I still think they're going to go 11-5. And I think they'll get to if they do win the division, I think they have the chance to get to the AFC Championship. It depends on if they have to play the Chiefs or New England. If they have to play the Chiefs or New England before the AFC Championship game, which more than likely they probably will. I don't think they'll get to the AFC Championship. If they can somehow meet the Chiefs or New England in the AFC Championship, then I think Pittsburgh could potentially get to the AFC Championship and probably win the division. It'll be a toss-up between them and Cleveland. Cool. So next we got Baltimore. Will this be Lamar Jackson's breakout year? He had a decent year last year. I don't dislike Lamar Jackson. I'm not big on him. A lot of people think he's the next Michael Vick. I don't know. I'd just like to see some more. Obviously, the kid has talent. He had talent when he's at Louisville. He was a Heisman Trophy winner. So Lamar Jackson has talent. But we'll just kind of see what he does in Baltimore. I don't really like the setup they have around him. His receiving core is like Seth Roberts and Willie Snead, and then they drafted Hollywood Brown from Oklahoma, which is a nice addition to him. But he doesn't have a receiver core that's going to blow you away. Like, at least Kyler Murray's got, like, Larry Fitzgerald, you know what I mean? And, it's Christian Kirk. Sorry, I had to look that up. But, yeah, Christian Kirk's, like I said, Kyler Murray's got Christian Kirk and Larry Fitzgerald. Lamar Jackson really doesn't have a whole lot to work with as far as receivers go. Pretty average. His deep accuracy definitely worries me, and his durability worries me. If he's going to be running the ball, 10-plus times a game and taking hits, we saw how that worked out for RG3. Michael Vick, I mean, Michael Vick's a freak of nature. You're probably not going to see anything like that again. But I could see the durability being an issue with Lamar running the ball unless he puts on like a crazy amount of weight and muscle and stuff. But I could see that being an issue. Their offensive line was ranked 7th in the league this year. I think they had one of the best offensive lines in the league this year. So that is going good for Lamar. He does have a good offensive line. They also added Mark Ingram in the offseason, so we all know Mark Ingram can produce, so he's going to help out as well. I'm not sure how that offense is going to produce this year, what Lamar Jackson's going to do. But they made the playoffs last year. They won the division last year, so, they could do the same thing this year, but I don't really see it happening. Their defense, however, they had the best number 1 overall defense in 2018, but Terrell Suggs, C.J. Mosley, Eric Weddle, and Zadarius Smith all left in free agency. They have a lot of young guys that they think are going to step up. They added Earl Thomas to replace Eric Weddle, but obviously Earl Thomas had that ACL tear last year, so we'll see how he comes back from that. They do have a really good secondary, adding Earl Thomas. I don't think the defense is going to fall that far down in the rankings, but I'm not sure if they're going to be the number 1 defense again in 2019. And their defensive line is kind of lacking. My prediction for Baltimore is 9-7. They have a pretty tough schedule. I think they'll split the divisional games with Cleveland and Pittsburgh kind of the same way. I think Pittsburgh is going to split the games with Cleveland and Baltimore. And I think they're going to beat the Bengals twice. And I think they could get to the wild card, potentially just seeing on how the matchups work and how the standings and everything end up at the end of the season. I could see them potentially getting the wild card, but I don't see them going any further than that. Definitely don't think they'll win the division, but I could be wrong. They won the division last year. You have a better Cleveland team this year, and you have a better Pittsburgh team. You got Pittsburgh without all the drama. That's a scary thing to see. So 9-7 for Baltimore. I'm ready to watch Lamar Jackson play and see what he can do, see how he improves this year. So, 9-7. So, some of you watch this, you're going to be Browns fans. So, obviously, the ones from Ohio are going to be Browns fans. This could be a big year for Cleveland. It could also be a disappointing year. I think when I was looking at the roster in Cleveland and you look at the star power, it's kind of like unbelievable. The guys they have. They add OBJ, who's one of the top receivers in the league. They add Kareem Hunt, and even though he's going to be out till probably week 9, he's suspended for 8 games, so week 9 or 10, one of the best running backs in the league in the last couple years, Kareem Hunt. When you look at that, on top of they already have Nick Chubb, they already have Baker Mayfield, they already have Juice Landry, they already have David Njoku, they already have Rashad Higgins. They have all these players. They have a pretty decent offensive line. Their defense is pretty good as well. Guys like Myles Garrett. They got Myles Garrett. They add Greedy Williams, and they already get Denzel Ward. Greedy Williams is going to play on the other side of Denzel Ward. So I think this is Cleveland's year to really try to do something here. I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl or anything like that. I don't even know if they're going to win the division, but I think this is the year where Cleveland and Baker Mayfield, they really have to come out and be like, hey, look, we're not the Browns of old. Because if they come out and go 8-8 and they miss the playoffs, or there's a bunch of controversy, or even worse, they go 6-10 or something like that, what's going to happen after that? Or is Freddie Kitchens going to keep his job? Because obviously we know in Cleveland, if you're not winning, you're not keeping your job more than 2 years. I don't know if that should be the case, but we know that's how it goes in Cleveland. Here, obviously, Kareem Hunt's going to be out for the first 8 weeks, so Nick Chubb is going to be the feature back, and it's going to be his time to shine as long as he can stay healthy. He has had injury. He had a bunch of injuries in college, but last year he stayed pretty healthy. I think he's going to stay healthy this year. I think he's going to have a breakout year. I think he's going to be a good fantasy player too. They have an average offensive line. Kevin Zeitler left, and he was their really dope offensive lineman. And then obviously Joe Thomas retired a couple years ago. Bleacher Report had their defense ranked 18th this year, not last year. They ranked their preseason defense. They have them ranked 18th. I think they're going to be better than that. They got Myles Garrett, Olivier Vernon, Sheldon Richardson, Larry Ogunjobi. They have a badass defensive line. I think they're going to have one of the top pass rushes in the league with those guys. And they also added Greedy Williams, like I said, with Denzel Ward. Their linebacking core is decent. Joe Schobert and those guys. they're good enough to get the job done. I'm not saying they're going to be world beaters, but I think they have a pretty decent linebacking core, and their secondary is pretty good, like I said. My prediction for the Browns this year, I'm super excited. I want the Browns to win the division. I think they're going to go 11-5, just like Pittsburgh, and they're going to split every divisional game. I think they're going to split a game with Cincinnati. I had the other two teams beating Cincinnati twice, but it's the Ohio rivalry. Normally they split the games. But if they beat Cincinnati twice, then I think they go 12-4 and win the division. I think it comes down to what they can do with Cincinnati. But I think they'll split the games with Pittsburgh and Baltimore. And then I think wild card game for the Browns if they don't win the division. If they do win the division, I don't see them going anywhere past the divisional round just because – it'd be Baker Mayfield's first playoff game. I don't think they're going to match up against the Chiefs or the Patriots or even Pittsburgh. I think beating Pittsburgh at home would be tough. A lot of teams in the AFC that they could potentially play in the divisional round, I think it's going to be a tough matchup. I don't see them beating New England or the Chiefs. And I'm sure there's some other team, the Chargers, I think will be a tough matchup. So, yeah, I think the Browns will get to the divisional. I think this would be a good stepping stone year. I don't think this is the year they're world beaters and they win the Super Bowl, but I do think it'll be a step in the right direction for Cleveland, and I'm super excited to watch it. Natty, the Bengals. You Bengals fans, sorry. I know you guys got a new head coach, but I think this is it for the Bengals. You still have Andy Dalton, who's a liability at quarterback. Never really been an Andy Dalton fan. He's just super average. He's not going to blow you away. I think the new head coach thing is more of a hindrance than it is a positive because he's going to have to get his feet wet. He's going to have to get his schemes. It could be a new offense, all that. The receiving core is pretty decent. They got John Ross. A.J. Green should be back. They have a really sick running back core with Joe Mixon and Gio Bernard. That's a good 1-2. Tyler Eifert's back now at tight end. O-line's pretty average. Nothing's going to kill you. But the real problem in Cincinnati is that defense. And on paper, when you look at the guys, when you look at the names that they have on their defense, you look at the names and you're like, oh man, this should be a pretty good defense. Like they shouldn't be too bad. But they were 30th in points against in 2018, and they were 32nd in yards allowed. So third to last in points against and dead last in yards allowed last year with virtually the same defense. I think they're going to be a little better this year. I think they're going to get together and actually play a little defense, but I don't see them going from 32nd best defense in the league to top 15. I mean, they might be the 20th or whatever. Nothing's going to kill you away. Going to blow you away, sorry. But, yeah, like I said, I mean, they got firepower, man. They got Carlos Dunlap, Geno Atkins, Drake Kirkpatrick, Jesse Bates. They have a good secondary, good defensive line. Their linebacking core is not bad. But my prediction, just for the fact that their divisional games are tough, dude. They have all 6 divisional games. You're talking about 3 potential playoff teams that they have to play 6 games against 3 potential playoff teams. So my prediction for the Bengals this year is 6-10. It's not that they're a terrible team. I know that record kind of sounds rough, but when you look at the rest of that division, they got to play Cleveland twice. They got to play Pittsburgh twice. They got to play Baltimore twice, and they got to go on the road 3 out of those games. So I have them going 1-5 in the division. In that game, I think they'll split with Cleveland. So it's not necessarily a rebuilding year for Cincinnati, but they got a new head coach. Maybe he'll figure it out. Maybe they'll surprise everybody, but I don't see it with Cincinnati. So like I said, 6-10. That's my breakdown of the AFC North. Pretty interesting division this year. I think it's the most interesting division in the AFC. Used to be the West. Now I think it's the North. I'm super excited to see what goes on. That's kind of my hometown division, even though I'm a Dallas fan. Been watching all 4 of those teams my whole life, so I'm excited for that. And then next we will have the AFC West or the AFC South. Just depends. I can't remember which. But that'll be the next video out. I'll definitely have it out this weekend, and then I'll pump out the next one. If not by Sunday, then Monday. And then next week I'll get started on the NFC. But yeah, I'm having fun with these guys, having fun with these videos. And as always, drink responsibly. And if you haven't had a Marble Double White and you can get access to it, which you probably can't unless you live where I live, go get one. It's really good. All right, guys. Thank you. Have a good one.